positive. 3 times 3 is 9. So then we're going to have 4 times 9. And then what would we get for the answer here? Anybody?
36.
36. Thanks, Michael. Good. And that's it for this one. And now if we go look at 61. 61 says x minus y divided by x. And that is when x is a positive 8 and y is a negative 8. So again, every time I plug in, I like to start with parentheses. So we're going to plug in x, that's going to give us an 8, minus y, which is a negative 8. And then we also have that over x, which is a positive 8. Now, inside each of these, we don't really have any signs. So we could get rid of the parentheses at this point if you like. We have an 8. And now you see right here we have minus a negative. Minus a negative is going to give us a what? See how we have 2 negatives
Positive.
here? Good. Positive. And then we have an 8 over 8. So next we're going to look at our multiplication division. We have the division here. 8 divided by 8 gives us a 1. And obviously 8 plus 1 is going to give us 9. Are there any questions on that one? Okay, so now we're going to look at our word problem. So our word problem was number 71. '71 says, you buy a used car with 67,150 miles on the odometer. You expect to drive the car 12,500 miles each year. Write an expression for the expected number of miles on the odometer after T years. Evaluate the expression to find the expected number of miles on the odometer on the day you have owned the car for 4 years. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to write an algebraic expression, and according to this, it's going to say that our variable is going to be T. So the first thing we're going to do is we know how much is on the odometer, and that's going to be 67,150 miles. Now, are we adding to this or taking away from this?
Adding.
Good. So we're going to add to it, and we're going to add 12,500 miles each year. And then again, we're going to say that the year is represented by the variable T. All right, now all that they're asking us to do is we're going to plug in. So we want to find out how many miles are going to be out on it after 4 years. So all we do is rewrite it. 67,150 plus 12,500. Again, when we plug in, we use parentheses, and it's going to be 4 years. So now we're just going to do a little math with our calculator. Mr. Korn, do you have your calculator handy? Does anybody have their calculator handy? What would be 12,500 times 4?
Would be 50,000.
That's right. So you get 50,000, and then it's just some basic math from here. We're going to add up And what do we get for a final answer?
117,150.
Good. 117,150. And then what would we label this?
Miles.
Wonderful. Good. Are there any questions on any of the other homework problems? All right, I'll let Ms. Kane go over what we're doing today.
So as I said, I'd like you to make sure you have paper next to you, unless you are using two screens. So if you're using your phone to view the Zoom, then you can pull this worksheet up off of Google Classroom. But I'm going to show you a couple of the problems on the worksheet that we are going over. So this is in Google Classroom. It's posted for you already today. It looks like this. So you can get out a piece of paper, and we're going to go over a couple of these problems together. Or if you have two different devices, so you have your phone and you're watching the Zoom on the phone, you can go to Google Classroom on your iPad and do this worksheet on your iPad. Or you can just kind of right now write the problems down that we are going to discuss together as class. So however you want to go about that, whatever's easier for you. So this worksheet is going to look very similar to your quiz tomorrow. The quiz tomorrow won't have quite as many problems. So the worksheet will have a few more problems than the quiz, and that's typical how it will go. We will get most of the worksheet done where, like in class, you'll be able to have class time to work on most review worksheets, and typically we go over some of them together, and then the rest of the time you have to work on it. So we're going to look at number 2. Number 2 is from what we discussed on Monday, and it wants you to graph the numbers on a number line. And then it says, write the numbers in order from least to greatest. So the first thing we're going to do is make ourselves our own number line because 1 is not drawn for us. So you can do this just on separate paper, make yourself a number line. As I was grading homework yesterday, I was noticing that a lot of students did not label your number line. You can't just randomly plot points on a number line. You must label each tick mark with numbers. Oh, that shouldn't be a 6. So I'm drawing a number line, labeling values on my number line. So that's the first part of like graphing numbers on a number line. You have to have the number line labeled. The second part, I'm looking at the numbers that we are going to graph, and 2 of them are in fractions. We need to take those fractions and make them as decimals. So you need a calculator for sure. So somebody with a calculator, or maybe you know this one without using a calculator, what is -7 divided by 5? Emma, do you have a calculator? Can you tell me what -7 or -7 divided by 2 is? Not 5.
-3.5.
Good. And Emma, since you're still here with me, can you tell me what 13 divided by 3 would be?
4.3 repeated.
Nice job. And she said repeated, so you could put a little bar on top. You don't have to. All right, so our number line is ready to go. Now we're plotting the points on the number line. So I'm going to go to where it says -4 and place a point. The second one is -3.5. Well, here's -3. It's a little bit past that. So that's -7 over 2. And then we have -3.8. Holy cow, there's 3 numbers that are really close together. I made my little dots way too big. So I'll make a little arrow here. This is -3.8. So those 3 numbers were really close together. -4, -3.5, and -3.8. All 3 of those numbers are negative. The last number they give us is 4.3. So I go to 4, and then I go a little bit above it, and that's 13/3. So that's how you properly graph on a number line. A lot of you on that homework assignment, and I made comments to every assignment. So a lot of you did not have the number line labeled. You just put points anywhere you wanted to. But a number line has numbers underneath it. That's why it's called a number line. And then you're plotting the numbers in between the values you have labeled. The last part of this question wants us to order the numbers from least to greatest. That's why we graph on a number line. So if I look at my first point is at right here, -4. So I'm going to label or write -4. My second point is -3.8. Again, I have them labeled here on the number line, so I just need to rewrite this. And then I have -7 divided by 2. And finally, the last number is 13/3. So this is a two-step problem. The first step is to graph. The second step would be to write them from least to greatest. And you're just following the numbers on your number line from left to right and writing them in order. So that's what number 2 should look like. Again, you can just write this on separate paper. So your goal is to do 1, 3, and 4 exactly like number 2. That's why we do a couple together in class. All right, we're going to go down to the bottom of the page. Again, just write the problem down that we're working on. So we're going to look at number 9. It's okay to skip around. It's all right that your problems aren't done in order. But on your paper, write these values down for number 9. So 7 minus 5 in parentheses times 8 plus 6 in parentheses divided by 7. And I'm going to write this word PEMDAS next to it to remind us what to do. So our first step here, P parentheses. Nathan, there are 2 sets of parentheses. Can you tell me what inside those parentheses, what numbers we would get?
2 and 14.
Perfect, nice job. So we did the P part. We don't have any exponents, so I don't need to do that. And then we have multiplication and division, and remember that's left to right. So if I'm looking on the left, we have to first multiply 2 times 14. So
That's 28.
excellent, that is 28. And then finally, the last thing, what's 28 divided by 7?
4.
4, perfect, yay! So PEMDAS, again, so your goal is to do 10, 11, and 12 exactly like we did number 9. So I'm going to go over one more problem so that you have an example of each type of problem to kind of look at. And we're going to do number 13 together. So I'll zoom in on this. This one says evaluate the expression for the given value. So on your paper, we have 2x squared minus 4x plus 12. And then our value that we're going to use is 5 for x. So write this down. And then we're going to work through this problem together as well. So they're telling us x is 5, which means wherever I see an x, I'm going to replace it with a 5. And remember, we're using parentheses. So x squared is now 5 squared minus 4 times x, which is 5, and then plus 12. Still using PEMDAS. So Haley, if we use PEMDAS, we don't have parentheses, but we have exponents. Can you tell me what 5 squared is?
25.
Awesome. So we have 2 times 25 minus 4 times 5 plus 12. So then Haley, if we're multiplying now, because we have multiplication and division, there's 2 multiplying steps here. Do you know what 2 times 25 is?
50.
And how about 4 times 5?
20.
Awesome. Nice job. And then our last step is to add and subtract. So we would subtract 50 minus 20 is 30. And then we would add. And we get 42. So it's still using PEMDAS, but we're starting out with an expression that has variables instead of starting out with an expression that just has numbers. So that's it for today. You have 20 minutes in class to work on this worksheet. Again, this worksheet is in Google Classroom, posted for today's assignment. Today's Thursday, September 3rd. Tomorrow, when you come to class, we'll go through another 3 problems so that then you have a couple extra done, and this worksheet then you will submit at the end of class. And there'll be a little quiz for you to take tomorrow as well, and we'll show you where that is located tomorrow. So just like this week, you can choose to stay on with the 3 of us. We're all here to work with you. And you can just start working on this worksheet. Or you can log off and work on the worksheet on your own, but we're still here. So if you need to rejoin the Zoom, feel free to rejoin the Zoom. Does anybody have questions?